Hello there, everyone. Welcome to GamePoints episode 283. Your weekly we'll get together. We talk about recent gaming news. I'm as always your host, Steven Brown, and joining me today is...
I'm David.
Tonight, David. We realized that we haven't done the show for 2 weeks, and I'm already stumbling over my words. Splinter Cell
Perfect.
rumors are back again. A little bit of Elden Ring might have leaked, and it seems legit. And the DC FanDome gave us some new trailers of their upcoming superhero games. But first, I want everyone here to know this is an audience interactive podcast. So if you're watching live here at Twitch TV/GamePoints or later over at YouTube.com/GamePointsPC, feel free to join in the conversation with any questions, comments, concerns, etc. Just try to keep them germane to the topics on hand. David,
Yes.
being 2 weeks since we actually have done this show, what have you been up to those past few weeks that you're willing to share to everyone at home?
Playing video games.
Such as, go on,
Yeah,
elaborate.
I slowed down on New World because it's
Yeah, same here.
an MMO, and it turns out that it's still I hit level 30. And if you've talked to me about literally any MMO that you've ever heard of, ask around what level I am.
It's always 30.
It's probably 30.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now, too. I don't know if I want to keep throwing time at it. I like it, but I feel like I'm going nowhere with it.
I feel like I have played enough of that game to understand it, and I know what it is, and like how it works. And yeah, all right, that's fine. I've been playing Riftbreaker a bunch. That game's fun.
That's the RTS, not the RTS. It's like tower defense crossed with.
Yeah, it's kind of an RTS. It's kind of a tower defense. It's kind of a twin stick shooter.
I remember playing that during Steam's demo days it was either the summer or the early spring, but I didn't play the demo of that a few months back, and it was excellent.
Yeah, I've been playing on Game Pass. It's lots of fun. And speaking of Game Pass,
yes.
I've also been playing Back 4 Blood.
How is it?
Okay. Do you like Left 4 Dead 1 and 2?
Yes.
Do you play those games by yourself or with friends?
With friends when I can. The problem being that, I mean, we've discussed this before. I love those kind of games, but me being able to join a group of people is a problem.
Then you should not play it.
Okay.
If you play games solo, don't fucking bother with Back 4 Blood. Just don't.
Okay.
Don't. You have no reason. It is a co-op shooter. That game is fun because you play it with friends.
Okay.
It is built for you to play it with friends.
Now,
That's the only way I can really see people enjoying the game. Yes, you can play it solo. Yes, you can have bots as allies. They are completely brain dead. They are useless. They do not add anything to your enjoyment of the video game than it is a co-op shooter by yourself. So just and I've seen a lot of people getting mad about that game and like leaving bad reviews.
I'm hearing some weird monetization shit behind it. I haven't delved too deep into these controversies because, like you said, being a 4-player co-op shooter, while I would love to play it with friends, and I do have people I could play it with, syncing up with them is very hard for me. So it is on the lower end of my attention scale at the moment.
Yeah, but I think it's quite fun.
If you have a party to play it with.
Yep.
Okay. Good. I have been playing Metroid Dread. I finished that up last night, actually. I was playing Metroid Dread, got to the final boss, and it is one of the most bullshit final bosses I have seen in a video game, to where it actively made me enjoy that game less because of it.
Wow.
I spent about an hour and 20 minutes trying to kill this goddamn thing on stream. Got frustrated to the point where I said, fuck this, I'm turning it off, good night. And then got up, got something to drink, cleared my head, sat down, not 15 minutes later, and one-shot it without taking a single hit. But that boss... Hey there, Stealthy Twitcher, good to have you, by the way. That boss does a bunch of things that no boss should ever do. It does the impenetrable armor bullshit phase, where you can't do anything to it. It has quick time events that you have to complete to actually progress to next phases. I'm not telling you what the boss is. I'm trying not to spoil anything. But goddamn, it breaks so many pet peeves of mine when it comes to bosses, and it made that game overall lesser because of it. That said, Metroid Dread is a great game, I think, and definitely well worth the $60. Also, Stealthy Twitchy, you said that you're playing Inscription. As it's one of the better card ballers you played since Monster Train. The antagonist is truly unnerving. I agree. I have been playing Inscription since August. I was given a copy of that game way early. I couldn't talk about it until today. I fucking love that game. And I can't tell you much about it because the person who made Inscription, it is a very dark card game. But the person that made Inscription is the same man that made both Pony Island and The Hex. Do you know what those two games are, David?
You've told me of them before, but I haven't played them.
They fall into a category of the least you know about them, the better time you're going to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, learning about the game is ruining the game.
Yeah, and I don't want to go. We'll talk about this more on new releases, I'm certain. And I will be streaming this, by the way, starting on Wednesday. I'll be doing a fresh save from the beginning. I enjoyed what was happening in the game so much, I deliberately stopped myself from playing it after the first 4 hours or so. Once I got to the first thing that happens, without elaborating. And I went, okay, I know I'm going to be streaming this game, so I don't want to go through and play this again. Because this gentleman's game, I think his name is, I can't remember his name. I think it's like Dennis Mullen or something like that. It's something similar to that. This man's games rely on not knowing what's coming.
Daniel Mullen,
there it is. I can't, if you like the indie scene, I cannot recommend it enough. Specifically the Hex. From what I've seen between Inscription and the Hex, I think I like the Hex a lot better, but I finished the Hex, and I like it.
So there's probably still time for Inscription to grow you.
Yeah, I liked the Hex's punchline. And to use, it's not comedic at all, but it ends amazingly. And I'm looking forward to Inscription giving me the same experience.
Cool.
But that is what I have been playing over the past week or so. And looks like Stealthy Twitchy has been as well. So good. David.
Cool. Yes.
Let's move on with the news, shall we?
Perfect. I'm going to let you lead, and I'll be right back.
Sounds good. First up, via Video Game Chronicle. Headline, a decade later, Ubisoft has finally greenlit a new Splinter Cell, or at least that's what sources claim. That's according to development sources who told VGC that the title had been put into production as a means of winning back fans frustrated by recent efforts to revive the franchise in the mobile and VR spaces. It is not clear which studios are working on the project. The two people with knowledge of Ubisoft's plans suggest that the new Splinter Cell was being led by a studio outside of its traditional Montreal base. The title is in an early phase of production, the sources said, but there's a small chance it could be announced next year. Ubisoft declined to comment when approached ahead of publication.
How excited are you for this?
Not at all. So here's the thing. Here's the reason why. One, I will go ahead and say up front, my sources at Ubisoft are not as strong as they were 2 or 3 years ago. A lot of them have moved on. So I don't have that inside track that I used to have with them anymore. 2, the Ubisoft today has changed dramatically over even the past 5 years, let alone the, 10 it's been since we've had Conviction, or however long it's been since we've had Conviction. I think Conviction was, was it like 2008 when Splinter Cell Conviction came out? If someone wants to look that up. Actually, it had to be later. Had to be like 12 or 13, but it's been a long time. That Ubisoft doesn't exist anymore. The Ubisoft that you see right now is the Ubisoft that gives us, while I enjoy it, it gives us Ghost Recon. The Ubisoft that exists today gives us Far Cry 6. That's the game I was trying to say, but I kept reading Ghost Recon. It was like,
man, you are having trouble today. Anyway, yes. So that is where I'm thinking, is who's excited to play Splinter Cell? And you'll see a bunch of people raise their hands. Who's excited to play a Splinter Cell that's exactly like the current generation of Assassin's Creed or Far Cry games?
Yes.
Because that is what this will be.
Which is why I was trying to get out, but I kept reading other game names here, and it kept fucking with my brain.
Well, and that is the most likely event, right? Like
yeah.
they're just gonna Ubisoft open world it. That's what this is gonna be.
I don't want that.
But there's a chance, right? There's always a chance that someone at Ubisoft wants to make a new Splinter Cell video game, and it will actually be one as such.
The rumor sources from the article say this title has been put into production as a means of winning back fans frustrated by recent efforts to revive the franchise. So, to me, that does read that someone somewhere at Ubisoft went, okay, we can't keep doing this. We actually have to make a Splinter Cell game.
Do something faithful and stop throwing Sam Fisher at different franchises.
Ubisoft is in decline. Which is a shame to say, because when Assassin's Creed Origins first came out, they rebooted that franchise and turned it to what it was. I was like, this is good. This is a breath of fresh air. This is what Ubisoft needed for one of its longest running, and at that time, in my opinion, was decaying franchises. Origins
And now that
lifted
new
it back
formula
up.
has already been padded into Oblivion.
Yes, because more so than using it in the same game over and over again, Ubisoft has used it in every game they've done over and over and over again, including, you can see elements of it in Far Cry 6, which is what I was trying to kind of blend into earlier. I like Far Cry 6. It is the McDonald's of video games. You are not going to get something amazing. You're going to get something that's filled with empty fucking calories, but I'm still going to eat it. I do like McDonald's, but I don't want it every day. There's nothing of substance to what Ubisoft is right now, and it's starting to get really tiresome, because if you eat McDonald's for a week fucking straight, you're going to be wanting a salad eventually, or just something different, and that is what Ubisoft is to me now. And I kind of want something different now.
And there you go. We will see.
Were you ever a Splinter Cell fan, by the way, David?
No, I never had an Xbox.
You never had a... It's on other systems other than Xbox. Admittedly, it started off on Xbox, but this is a franchise that had PlayStation 2 versions.
I mean, that's fair, but it launched on Xbox, and so I didn't play it. So when it came to PlayStation 2, I didn't give a shit, because I was playing Metal Gear Solid.
Fair enough.
Because, you know, back in the day when you're younger, you do get caught up in the, well, nope, that's the Xbox stealth guy. I play the games with the Sony stealth guy.
And while I will say Metal Gear is the better franchise and the more enjoyable games, when it comes to an actual stealth game, at that time, Splinter Cell was the better stealth game.
It is what it is.
That's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. But yeah, I hear this news and I go, okay, cool. When their sources are even saying it's in the early phase of production and there's a small chance it could be announced next year, that means minimum this game is 2025. Because Ubisoft will announce, so if it's small chance it's announced in 2022, that means likely announced in 2023, if true. Ubisoft tends to announce their shit 18 months to 2 years out, at least given current trends. So that means 2024, 2025, and if things at the studio maintain, admittedly, that's now 4 years from now, but if they maintain their current pace, it's going to get delayed 6 to 18 months.
While that is all a possibility, you're also forgetting that the current Ubisoft can shit out a franchise title in 2 years.
They can, but they haven't been.
If this is going to be a throwback, then yes, expect that in a while. If this comes out and it's announced for like a 23 or 24 release, stay the hell away from it.
There's some weird stuff going on Ubisoft with its release schedule. I mean, they still have that Avatar game supposedly being worked on by Massive.
Skull and Bones, bro.
What was that?
Where's Skull and Bones?
Exactly.
Bro?
Where's Skull and Bones? Where's Beyond Good and Evil 2? Where's that Avatar game, which they mentioned like a few times but never shows up? The same team that's making that Avatar game, Massive, is rumored to be making an open world Star Wars game as well, which we haven't heard anything of. More on that later today, by the way. They have all these like vaporware projects that just mysteriously have not had any progress on for a long time, it seems. So there's something weird going on at Ubisoft. This is not normal. Not normal at all. Chat saying they'll also have a few trailer premieres at VGAs in December. I'm assuming that you're referring to the Star Wars stuff. And yeah, that's specifically the news story we'll get to, like, more than likely. David?
Yes.
Let's move on to something that you actually care about.
Thank God. Not gonna lie, I've been just sitting here waiting. Like, yeah, Ubisoft. I haven't been interested in Ubisoft in a while. This, though, is something I am interested in.
That's right. 30 seconds of a video game is far more important than the entire catalog of a publisher.
Yes, that is true. Because there was a leak of some Elden Ring footage. Supposedly from the Xbox One version of the game, you can find some grainy footage, around on the internet. They're going to try and take it down as much as they can. It's only 30 seconds, if that. I think it's like 27 seconds even. And it gives you just an idea of the UI and the movement, and there's a compass. But there's something that really stands out to me. and it's that you can fucking jump in this video game. It has a jump button, like an actual jump button, unlike, say, any of the Dark Souls games where you have to sprint and then, press another button to jump. It just has a standing jump button.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that people are. I'm not worried because this game's still going to sell regardless. But I think people are thinking of Elden Ring as an open world Dark Souls, and it's not.
It's not going to be.
No.
Okay, I'll just leave this up. I am going to play Elden Ring. I like FromSoft games. And it is what it is. I'll get into this game, I'll play it. But chances are, I'm not going to love it. Because it doesn't look like it's a Souls game. It's probably going to play more like Bloodborne and Sekiro, because I feel like that's just the new template, and that's fine. But I can count on one hand the number of open world video games I've beaten in the last decade and a half. I don't play open world video games. They're
This
too
is
big.
not
There's
your
too much...
genre, and yet you're still going to get it.
Yeah, there's too much shit to do, and I'm horribly worried about pacing in Elden Ring. Because Dark Souls, I walk around the corner, something new's there to fight me. And am I just going to have giant swaths of nothingness? Like, I don't know, the publisher we were just talking about open world video games?
What I'm hoping for...
Even worse, am I going to have a fucking backpack checklist of tiny little bullshit I need to go find and do? Because I want that even less.
What I'm kind of hoping for here, David, is that the open world is kind of a gimmick. Ideally, what I would like to see from Elden Ring, and that's not to say that if they don't do this, I can't have a good time with it, and they might blow me away. What I want to see from this, and just kind of looking at this trailer, made me actually think a little bit more that this might be the case. I want it to play a little bit like Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus would be the ideal scenario.
Where it's technically an open world game, but nothing happens except at 8 specific points on that entire map.
Yeah, but then you still could have issues with pacing and going to the right place, and they've mentioned that you can kind of go to different places and do different things, so it won't be like Shadow of the Colossus, because Shadow of the Colossus, you fight the bosses in a very specific order, right? You ride around, you use the sword, you kill things, and I don't know.
I'm hoping that's... I don't mean necessarily the pacing for the game, but how they handle that open world. I don't want a map cluttered full of icons and a fucking...
That's what I don't want, because I know that there's a map in this game. They've talked about that already. I don't want to see me open the map and collect all the frayed knots.
Yeah,
and I got 706 of them.
I got real nervous when I saw that compass on that quick little trailer, because the first thing I thought when I saw that compass was fucking Skyrim.
Compass is better than a mini map.
Yeah, but I see that compass, I think Skyrim, and I think here is your 100 points of interest that you need to visit all of if you want to, quote-unquote, complete the game. And I don't want any of that. Hey there, Soul Glove. How are you doing?
Yeah. But we're talking about a 20, 30-second leaked gameplay video.
We're reading a lot into a very minuscule trailer.
Yeah, I'm still going to play Elden Ring. Like I said at the top, I'm excited for this game. And
now,
as a matter of fact, I even signed up for the closed network test.
I was about to ask that.
From November the 12th to the 14th. You can register online. We'll probably leave it in the...
There'll be a link in both the Discord message to this show as well as the YouTube descriptor down below.
Yep. And keep in mind that it is only a console test, so it's not available for PC. But I don't care. If I get a chance to play it early, I'm going to try and play it anyway. Let's go.
Sounds good. We do have some more Elden Ring news, by the way. One is that this was originally supposed to come out January 21st. Has been delayed to February 25th. And boy, is that a problem.
Yeah, let's get into it. Now, to be fair, it was already a problem on the 21st, but now it is arguably even more of a problem in February.
It is a crowded time, to say the least. Do you want to read through this list of shit that comes out within a 4-week time frame, front and back of this date? This is all the shit that comes out.
Now, I'm not going to name every single video game that's coming out within a month of Elden Ring, but I am going to name the major games coming out from major publishers starting January 28th with that open world, or quote unquote open world, Pokemon Legends Arceus game, which I hear is more like Pokemon Monster Hunter, but is what it is. Dying Light 2 Stay Human, February 4th. King of Fighters 15th, February 14th. Horizon Forbidden West, February 18th. Destiny 2 Witch Queen expansion hits February 22nd. Elden Ring there on the 25th. That Saints Row reboot's also supposed to be on the 25th. And then on March 4th, you got Gran Turismo 7 and Triangle Strategy. March 18th, Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin comes out. And then we also have the Marvel's Midnight Suns supposed to be releasing sometime around this time, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction also releasing around that time. That is a shit ton of video game releasing in a month.
Yeah.
And not just, I mean, one who has the pocketbook to buy all of these video games, because they're, let's see, $60, $60, $60, $60, $60, $60. Yep, all of them. A couple of them are probably 70.
It's about $700 with the game right there.
And let's see, that one's probably going to be 30 hours. That one will be about 20 hours. That one you could play forever. That one
you don't have
60
the
hours.
time
That
to
one's
play
120 hours. That one's
period.
100 hours. This is insane.
If it makes you feel better, David, half of this shit's getting delayed.
While that is true, it's still not going to come out that much later. And we know why. So one thing, can you really quickly tell me of any game you're excited about releasing before December 31st of this year?
Yes, but I need the list in front of me.
And you need time to think about it? Yeah.
I don't have it off the top of my head.
I knew about all these games coming out at the beginning of this year, and most of the things I want to play are coming out at the beginning of next year. And I know a lot of this has to do with, pandemic-related struggles and development hells and all these other things, so I'm not mad about any of that. But we've kind of seen this shift happen where developers are really embracing that fiscal year Q4 release window. And this is entirely Dying Light's fault.
Yes, I agree with you to a degree.
Right. And so for those not following along with me, we always had a very busy holiday release schedule for video games, right? That's when all the games came out. And then at the beginning of the year, it was crickets. Nothing happened. No games came out between January to March. It just didn't. Then Dying Light found this sweet spot, released I think early March or late February, and sold like crazy because there was no other video games. And it was a solid, AA, not quite AAA, first-person zombie bash 'em up game that people liked. Then a year later, we had a bunch of other people join in. Capcom's been kind of jumping on that Q4 bandwagon with Monster Hunter World, I think, had an early year release. Resident Evil Biohazard, I think, had an early year release. And now just everybody's doing it. Because
March
as long as
Christmas
it's out,
too.
As long as it's out before April, then it meets before the end of the company's fiscal year, so it'll still look good to its stockholder. And then that's
the long and the short of it. That's the sole reason why that time is so crowded.
So, and it's just becoming crazy because now everyone is willing to push games back as much as possible, which I respect, right? Let's finish these games, but it's starting to turn the beginning of the year into fucking anarchy for, people that actually want to play the video games.
So I got two things here for you. The first thing is, of the stuff that's coming up between now and the end of the actual year, not financial quarter or anything like that, but December 31st. The major titles that are out there: Guardians of the Galaxy, which feels like it's being sent out to die by Square Enix because I'm hearing nothing about that game, and it comes out next week.
Mm-hmm.
Age of Empires 4, awesome, but that's such a niche franchise. It's a real-time strategy game. Ubisoft's Riders Republic, which it has its fan base. Call of Duty and Battlefield, which every year.
Those were going to come out anyway.
Those are going to come out anyways. Shin Megami Tensei 5, but once again, niche title. It's role-playing. It's not just a role-playing game. It's a extremely Japanese role-playing game on the Switch only. Advance Wars, the reboot.
Yeah, which me and you are excited for.
Yeah, but...
And like 6 other people.
It'll sell, but it's not doing gangbusters or anything like that. This Halo Infinite is really the only other big title.
And even then, that game is not coming out. They can say that it's coming out, but we both know it's not. The multiplayer of Halo Infinite is releasing this year, but that's it.
No official word on the campaign launching at that time or not.
So besides the standard Call of Duties and Battlefields, there's no big budget AAA releases.
No. I can, however, promise you that while that time sounds very crowded, half of that's getting delayed. That's the second point that I want to make.
That's true.
They slate it for that time to, you mentioned it earlier, make it look good on the books for stockholders.
But if these games get pushed, which, yes, I would argue that some of them will.
Saints Row for sure is getting moved. There's no way Saints Row is released on the same day that Elden Ring is. That I was already doubting that game was going to come out on February 25th to begin with. That's now an April or even May title.
But see, the thing is more likely than not, it is a March or an April title. Because again, they want it on the books before the end of the fiscal year.
I don't even think Saints Row is ready for prime time yet, though. That's just it.
I don't think so either. And that's probably the outlier that could just get delayed to like a fall next year release, and that's fine. But a lot of these other games might get pushed a couple of weeks back, but they're not getting pushed past
No. The stuff that I think actually is going to get more than a month delayed, Saints Row, Midnight Suns, Extraction. I know Extraction's been delayed so much already, but once again, my contacts at Ubisoft aren't as good as they used to be, but I still have a few. That game is a fucking train wreck from what I'm hearing.
Cool.
And needs more time.
When's the last time a Rainbow Six came out that wasn't a train wreck? Siege got better with time, but if you remember when that game released, it was trash.
And honestly, I think Gran Turismo is going to get delayed. Now, Gran Turismo might only be delayed a month or two, but I think Gran Turismo is going to get pushed back until the summer, personally, because I highly doubt that Sony is going to release Forbidden West and Gran Turismo within 2 to 3 weeks of each other.
Yeah, that seems insane, especially when they've had now a almost whole year without any games for their shiny new PS5.
Yeah, I think they're going to space out Gran Turismo. I don't think that March 4th date is going to get hit. I think it's going to get delayed a few weeks. Not a lot.
Yeah, I just really wanted to talk about this because I want to play Elden Ring. And like I said before, I have trouble with open world games in general, but with all this other shit that I could be playing, man, that is a nightmare.
Elden Ring is a heavy enough fighter to do the same thing that Cyberpunk or Red Dead Redemption 2 is. When they got delayed, everyone else went shit and just moved.
Yeah. So we'll probably see some of that.
For sure. As much as I want to keep waxing poetic about 30 seconds of fucking Elden Ring that we saw, we do have some more stuff we need to get to. Let's go ahead and move on to the DC FanDome. That's their little online convention that DC does. Yeah. They roll out a bunch of videos.
Classic DC.
I like it, actually. The FanDome thing, I think, is cool. I'd like to see more of it.
I like it as well. And what's fun about these trailers we're going to talk about is the same place that we see this new information is where they were revealed in the first place, was the FanDome from last year.
We have more information on both Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I'm excited for both of them, but I'm way more excited for one than the other, and I bet you can guess which one. First up, let's talk Gotham Knights here. You saw a little trailer for it featuring the Penguin, with my boy Elias Tofexis as the role of the Penguins. It's very easily identifiable as him. He sounds like he's smoked a pack of cigarettes every day since grade school. Shows a small bit of it without getting too deep into the actual gameplay itself. Tease more of the Court of Owls. I like them as a villain, by the way. I like the idea of the shadowy secret society as you try to dismantle who are members of it. I think you can get some cool detective gameplay in that. We look forward to going to it. And they kind of highlighted the talents. Now, the talents are like the assassins of the Court of Owls, the kids that are kidnapped at a young age, brainwashed and trained to become, well, their personal hitmen. And they seem to have a very prominent role in the game as a Big Daddy Mr. X vibe to them from other games. Not so much
Hunters.
What was that?
Like the hunter, like trying to get you.
No, don't think in statue. They're not like giant robots or monsters coming at you, but on the equal threat level. I get the feeling that you'll be wandering around in an area and then all of a sudden it's like you are being hunted or something like that might pop up. And I'm digging into that. What do you feel about Gotham Knights? Keep in mind that this is not in the Arkham universe.
Okay, so I figured we were going to talk about the next one before we did that, but I'll just get into it now. This is not the game being put together by Rocksteady.
Correct.
Who are the people that put together all those really fucking good Batman video games. They are doing the other game that we'll talk about in a moment. But pure storyline-wise, I would be way more excited for Gotham Knights. I kind of wish that the dev teams were switched.
It's weird that they're taking a storyline where Batman is dead because he dies at the end. He dies at the end of Arkham Knight. And it makes it sound like this is a continuation of that game, but it's not. The actual continuation of the Arkham series is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League,
Yes.
which is being made by Rocksteady, and feels
Yes.
weird that it is in that same universe because it's such a dramatically different shift in
It's a
tone.
completely different video game. It's I don't know. It's not the same thing. And I don't man. I will probably play both. Let's be real. I am the resident DC fan person on the show, and I actually love the Court of Owls. You don't read too many comic books.
I don't read the comic books all that much. I watch the cartoons when I can. By the way, I actually sat down and finally watched Batman Ninja. What a piece of shit that was.
Oh, Batman Ninja is great as long as you are aware of the fact that that movie is every single anime trope that you can think of jammed into a Batman
They
film.
had a fucking monkey side character. The second I saw that son of a bitch,
Bro,
I just stopped
there
paying
is
attention.
a mecha fight in that movie.
God damn, I hated that.
Anyway,
Going
I do
on,
like comic
as an
books.
aside.
I like Court of Owls. I actually like the New 52. Don't at me. And I thought that was a cool storyline. I like the idea of like there's this like shadowy society of people that have been secretly running Gotham this whole fucking time, and their money and name and stature is older than even the Wayne family, and that's why it kind of has that cool like Penguin is old Gotham money, Wayne is old Gotham money, and the Court of Owls predates both of them.
Yeah, it's so Batman's superpower is money. So what happens when money meets more money?
Yeah. And it's just I don't know, it's super fascinating. I thought those books were cool, and I'm really interested in getting into the story of that game. That being said, as far as playing a video game, probably more likely to play the second one that we're here to talk about, which is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Like you mentioned, it is put together by Rocksteady. It does have that whole welcome to Task Force S. Here's Amanda Waller. We just saw this movie recently. There's Harley Quinn. There's Boomerang. There's King Shark.
I'm super excited for this, David, because I remember when we first started hearing these Suicide Squad rumors going around, like it feels like 2 years ago at this point. I remember on the show pitching what I wanted as an ideal Suicide Squad game, and
Which
that
is fighting
was
Dark, the Justice Lords.
yeah. I wanted the Justice League to get corrupted by like I think I said at the time I said like Dark Side or something like that because he's been known to do that too, and I want them to go fight the DC superhero roster in the same way that Batman fought his Rogues Gallery, and that's what we're getting.
Yes.
So
And they're completely outclassed, and it looks great.
yes, the trailer did confirm the Flash, the Green Lantern, and Wonder Woman in it. Although the Wonder Woman didn't seem to be corrupted like the Flash and Green Lantern obviously were.
Yeah, and we already knew about Superman because he was in the original trailer.
Yeah. One thing of note that I wanted to mention out, and that's why I mentioned that this is in the Arkham universe, is that you see the Batmobile in it, but there is no Batman.
Right.
So we don't know if he's coming back. We don't know if
We
it's
don't know if he's
Nightwing.
corrupted. Yeah, maybe you meet one of the kids.
Yeah, it could be one of the Bat family, and I hate that fucking term. But it's an easy way of going down that list of everyone that's involved in it. Both these games, by the way, are still listed for 2022. I don't know if they're actually going to make that. I get the feeling that while Gotham Knights might make that, I wouldn't be surprised if Rocksteady delays this yet again because they have earned the right to be a bit of prima donna, but they are very much a prima donna studio.
Yes. Though it's been a while since they've had a release, so we'll see.
And seeing these two trailers makes me want to go back through the Arkham series again, including, yes, I know Origins, because I feel like I need to see it after it's been out for a while. Because when I first played it, I did
Still
finish
broken.
it. I'm sure it's still broken.
No, play it on console. I'm not even joking. If you're gonna replay Origins, you should probably play it on console.
Probably a good point. But in the same way that I played through Mass Effect Andromeda again recently to see if it was as bad as I remember, or if I was just giving it shit because I was expecting Arkham City, Arkham Knight, etc. Yeah. I want to see if Arkham Origins was still as bad as I remember it, or if it's actually better or even worse.
Nice. Good plan.
So yeah, I am really looking forward to both of those coming out in 2022. We did get a little bit, not really a bunch of information, but some bits that we can glean from those trailers.
Yes. Also worth noting that original Gotham Knights trailer that we had last year at the DC Fandom event that looked like gameplay was 100% show scripted. There's
Absolutely.
no way that shit was real.
Yes,
So
that was a
don't expect this video game to look like that vertical slice that we saw last year.
yeah, that
Just
was one of those
not even
vertical slices. And keep in mind, these vertical slices
because that was a quote unquote like video game demo a year ago, and now we
Yeah.
have a cinematic trailer. Like it's not. It's not gonna look
devs,
like that.
if you can get them talking, devs are open about this, by the way. They fucking hate those vertical slices because they have to build them like it's a real game.
It's never the dev's idea. It's
Yeah.
always some executive or marketer or something like, we need this thing to show off, and they're like, fuck, now we have to take time away from actually making the game to go make a little fake game video.
Yeah, it's more than just a video. They actually have to make like a fake game
Yeah.
and then record that. But that's not what the final thing is. So do not trust any of this vertical slice shit. And don't trust any gameplay that you see of any video game unless it's something that was released like a week or two before the actual game is out.
If you see gameplay and it's 2 years before the game comes out, just remember the last time somebody saw gameplay and was excited about a game and it took 2 years was fucking Anthem.
Yeah. Or
So just
or Cyberpunk, to use the
Yeah.
more recent thing. But yeah, so just be highly, highly skeptical of anything being shown that's more than 6 months out, if not even earlier than that. Hey there, Morthon. How you doing? Good to have you. David?
yes.
Do you want this, or do you want me to have it?
No, I'm going to talk about this.
Okay.
Okay. So
I will say I feel slightly vindicated, but I shouldn't be.
right? No, you won. I gave them every opportunity to prove you wrong, and you still won. Let's talk about it. Nintendo Switch's online expansion pack cost has been released. Now, if you recall, a little while ago, we talked about the new Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack was coming out, and they were going to be adding some N64 and Sega Genesis games to their online collection of random crap you can get with your Nintendo Switch Online subscription, which historically had cost, in the US at least, $20 per year.
Yes.
Now, adding the N64 and Sega Genesis games, we were speculating on how much they might add to it, and I was talking about how at $20 a year, it's like less than $1 a month, like it's like barely over $1 a month, like it's pretty cheap. And if they half again the price and it's like $30, that's a little more than I'd want. Like I'd wish they'd just add 5 to it, make it 25. That wouldn't be too bad. Instead, they more than doubled it.
Oh, yeah.
The Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack is going to cost you $50 US per year or $80 for a family plan. But wait, there's more. This expansion includes the $25 Happy Home Paradise DLC for Animal Crossing. But wait, David, doesn't that mean that the extra games are just $5 like you assumed they would be? And if you just don't want the Happy Home Paradise Animal Crossing DLC, you don't pay the extra $25? No, because go fuck yourself, says Nintendo. You're paying $50 for both, regardless of whether or not you own Animal Crossing, because that is, at this time, the only way to get the Genesis and N64 games with the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, is the full $50. But there's one more thing, Steven. Usually if you buy a DLC for a video game, you own it, right? But what about a DLC that's contingent on you paying a yearly subscription fee? Because if you look at the notes, the expansion pack contains the DLC access and the N64 and Genesis games. So if after a year I decide to go back to my regular Nintendo Switch Online, even though I paid the extra money, does that mean I lose access to a paid DLC for a video game?
The phrasing specifically says access to the Happy Home Paradise DLC. So,
which would imply
yes,
that if you change your membership or cancel it after 1 year, guess what? You just lost out on DLC that you basically bought and paid for. Once again, showing that Nintendo actively hates its customers and has its head so far up its own ass I can't stand the fact that they have unlimited goodwill.
There is
I
a
fucking
reason
hate it.
why I was so
And
fucking
Nintendo is the
salty
golden
over this
child.
2 weeks ago because I knew something like this was going to happen. That's
Yeah,
why I
you
was
called it
so
100%.
upset.
I went to bat for Nintendo. I'm like, dude, it's so easy for them to get around this. They just make it, $5 or even $10, right? $10 is, it seems like a lot for N64 and Sega Genesis games, especially with how bad they are with the upkeep. But it's not terrible. No, force a DLC on you. You have to pay $50. Their online infrastructure is still absolute garbage, by the way. So you're mostly just paying for access to these games because let's be real. This doesn't get you voice chat or anything useful from a Nintendo service. It just gets you some old video games. And more than likely, they're not going to really add games to this list. Now, they did talk about here's some new Genesis games and N64 games we'll add eventually with no ETA. And Steven, can you tell me how many Super Nintendo and NES games they've added to the Nintendo Switch Online Pass since those were added?
Combined total, I believe it is over 100. However, most of that came when the service first launched, and that was 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes, because they have been tiny, tiny little chunks of games. Most of the time, games you don't care about. And while...
And that also does count their weird
pains,
little challenge remixes they have.
While it pains me to admit it, I legitimately miss the Virtual Console.
Yeah, same here.
Because at least I could buy a video game and play it. Nintendo actively hates their back catalog. They have the biggest and best back catalog of any video game manufacturer, period. There's no one that has a better back catalog, and they refuse to let you play their video games. They just don't want you to.
There is a reason for this madness, David. And I didn't realize it until I was sitting down writing the notes for the show this day, and it clicked. This is Nintendo taking the idea of Game Pass and going, how can we fuck this up to make it fit our business plan?
How can we fuck this up? No, I think that's the whole thing.
Because what this is going to do is that this is just the start. There's a reason why this comes with the Animal Crossing Happy Home Paradise DLC. Because from this point on,
they can start adding DLCs into this bullshit.
And it will come with access to more content to your games. Why spend $10 on a DLC once when I can charge you $50 to have access to that DLC for only a year? And people will fucking do it because, as you said, Nintendo has unlimited good fucking will, despite this being a more egregious plan than anything fucking EA or Activision have ever dreamed of.
Yeah. Because
this is the future of Nintendo.
EA would
and it's
kill
fucking terrifying
to be able to pull this kind of bullshit.
Yeah. And they don't, because the fucking name Nintendo. And I am so tired of people's rose-colored glasses when it comes to this fucking company.
Well,
that said,
we've gone on before about how much I'm really into the concept of video game preservation.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we both are. We've hammered that home hard.
Yeah. So to sum up, we think that you should be able to play any fucking video game that was ever released. Right? There should be a way to play it at all times. And if I'm giving money to the old company or to the remnants or sending money to the guy that made his grandkid, I don't give a shit. I just want to be able to play old video games. And Nintendo has the best old video games, and they just don't want to give you a good way to play their games.
No.
To date, the best way for me to play my old Super Nintendo games, the ones I own that are in a box in the closet behind me, because my Super Nintendo looks like shit on an HD TV, is to play them emulated.
Yeah.
That's just the best way for me to play my old Super Nintendo games.
And as both you and I have gone off and wax poetic about on this show, for most people, piracy is a crime of convenience. The more convenient you make something, the lower that goes down. Piracy increases when it becomes more of a bitch to deal with outside of that. So, for example, if all it takes for me to pay $5 to play your back catalog game, I'll pay that $5.
Dude,
if it takes $50 and hop through a bunch of hoops and get 15 different things, but it's 5 seconds for me to go online and download an emulator and get that, guess what people are going to fucking do?
Yeah, it's the same thing as, piracy. Now, I don't have the statistics to back this up, but I'm willing to bet, just with offhand conversations I've had with people I know in real life, that when Netflix came out, video piracy rates dropped.
Yes. I would be willing Once again, I don't have the
Yeah,
statistics to
I
back
don't have
that
the
up. It's
numbers, but
anecdotal
I'm
evidence.
willing to bet that I'm correct. That
Yes.
when like Netflix came out, you had access to all this shit, and it was so convenient. I'm like, here's my $7.99 a month, Netflix. Thanks for letting me watch this old TV show I used to
I don't
watch.
have to go through sketch ass sites and run 15 different antivirus things and get some fucking homebrew software and
Yes.
mount a virtual ISO or whatever
And
it
now, of
is.
course, that's being broken because now there's 16 different apps, and trying to find the show I want is so much fucking work that it's almost easier to look it up on some other kind of place.
Yeah.
But that aside, Nintendo is just sitting here proving my point. It's so hard to play their games that it's just so much easier to fucking go on Google. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just saying, fucking look up the goddamn game that you want to play, and chances are you can find a way to emulate it on your computer or on your fucking PlayStation or on your Vita or on your
Right.
fucking whatever.
It's annoying as hell. But I do want to move on to the next topic here. It's Nintendo related. It is actually some good news out of Nintendo because I think this is an excellent game. I mentioned this at the top of the show via Video Game Chronicle. Metroid Dread has outsold nearly every Metroid game in Japan already. And from that, you can kind of extrapolate to other regions as well. So this is probably universal, but these figures are specifically for Japan. To the article. That's according to the latest Japanese sales data collated by Famitsu, which shows that Dread sold some 86,000 copies during its first 3 days on sale, making it the best-selling game for the week that ended October 10th. According to website Game Data Library, which correlates Japanese sales data since 1995, Dread smashed the first week sales record for every installment released during this period, keeping in mind the first 3 Metro games there's no data for because they were too old. The data also suggests that in just 3 days, Dread has already outsold the lifetime sales of nearly every Metroid game in Japan, excluding Fusion, Hunters, and the original Metroid as well.
Data for Super Metroid and Metroid 2 are not available.
Yes. Since Famitsu's only aggregating physical sales, you can assume that first week sales are even higher because of digital as well.
Yeah, I'm only bet more people bought a digital than physical.
This is great for Metroid as a franchise because, as you and I have both mentioned on the show in the past, Metroid, while I love the game and I think you enjoyed it as well, has never been a big cash cow for Nintendo.
Samus was not a popular character until Smash Brothers.
No, not at all. And hopefully, what we're going to see here is what happened with Fire Emblem, where Fire Emblem started to kind of get like big again, and the Three Houses came out and fucking sent it to the stratosphere.
Yeah.
Arguably in America, Metroid is always more popular than Fire Emblem, but what I'm hoping is that Dread has sold so well that we start getting like a flood of really good Metroid games, and this is a really good Metroid game.
I'm hoping, if nothing else, this puts a fire under Nintendo's ass to get Metroid Prime 4 done.
I hope so too, but we'll see.
Because I feel like that game's just been kind of sitting. Like, I'm sure
it has been in limbo for a while.
But how hard are they actually? Like,
I've heard they had to reboot that game twice.
Yeah.
They've had some major development issues because it's not being done by Nintendo themselves. It's being done by someone.
Not Nintendo.
I don't remember. At least I think. I could be wrong on that. But it is an excellent Metroid game, final boss fight aside, which I talked about earlier in the show. Dave, we've got some more news stories coming up. Why don't you go ahead and take this next one?
Indeed. And a story from IGN. Disney teasing a Star Wars video game announcement for December.
Right, back to what you mentioned earlier, Stealthy Twitchy. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yep. As announced in the article on the official Star Wars website, the companies have launched their Bring Home the Bounty campaign, which will see new Star Wars toys, collectibles, books, apparel, and more revealed on a weekly basis from now until the end of December, because you gotta get more Star Wars all up in your face so Disney can make all that money. Each week on the poster details different characters and memorabilia from across the franchise. However, on December 14, Disney has instead opted to lead with the image of a gamepad, hinting there may be a new Star Wars game announcement on its way. And we're already aware of a couple. They just haven't been, shown off. So Ubisoft Massive is working on a Star Wars game. There's rumors about that Quantic Dream Star Wars game that we talked about a couple weeks ago. Fallen Order 2. Why not? Right? We don't know. We don't have any confirmation. But why wouldn't you do that? The game did so fucking well. And Game Awards happen on the 9th. That's in December. That's
makes
a great
sense
time to
that
show
they
off all
would
this
tease it
stuff.
on. Makes sense they would tease it on the 9th and then show details on it that week.
All kind of lines up,
David, I would imagine if anything from this is shown, it would probably be that Quantic Dream Star Wars games, which seems to be like already almost finished if rumors are to be believed.
Okay, now we have good ideas on what this project can be. But do you have, my friend, any bad ideas on what this Star Wars project could be?
Masters of Terrakaze 2.
Fuck. I would play that. I was gonna say a sequel to Pod Racers, but damn, you destroyed me. I thought I was being funny. Fuck.
No. Trust me. I've thought about I thought about this long and hard about what a bad Star Wars game would be.
Yeah, no, that's solid. I would 100% pay money for that.
Yeah. Either way, I'm glad to see that the EA monopoly on Star Wars has been broken up, and that they're giving the license to studios and having these studios
Yes.
do what they do best.
Yeah, just let people play around with the Star Wars IP.
Right. And let's not forget too, there's also Coder. I forgot about this. There's the Coder reboot. I doubt they'll talk more about that. I think that's still from Aspire. That's still, I think, 2 years away, if not more.
Yeah, I think that's a ways. I don't think they need to talk about that right this second, unless they're like, "Hey guys, it's out," and it comes out,
Yeah.
that day or that week.
But I'd be willing to bet Fallen Order 2 is next year. They haven't announced it yet, but that game sold very well, from what I understand. And
I guess it depends on how busy they are with Apex and everything else.
Respawn's big enough they can handle it. Respawn is bigger than people think. I don't know if we actually have a studio number on how big Respawn is, but I think that company is way bigger than people realize.
I think they're over 100 at this point.
I think they're significantly bigger
Than even 100.
Yeah, I'm not positive,
Oh, wow.
but I think they're the size of some
I thought-
Ubisoft studios. I think they're like 500 or 600 people big. I'm not positive
Damn,
on that.
I thought they were at 140 last time we
take
had
a
a
look.
hard number on it.
Let
But
me
it's
see
been a
if I can find this real
time.
quick. Let me see if I
Man,
can
we
just
should have
find this
switched, and I
real-
should look while you instead talk about this next topic. How about we do that?
You know what? How about I just not look it up and we'll worry about it later. Let's move on to the next topic right here. This is something that is solely on here because of my personal interest via Deadline. A System Shock live action series based on the video game franchise is in the works from Binge and Nightdive Studios. Now, at first glance, I all for this. I like System Shock 2 is my favorite game of all time. I love this franchise, but let me read the article and I'll give my concerns. And there's a big one. Binge, an upcoming gaming entertainment streaming platform, has added a live-action series of adaptation of Nightdive Studio System Shock to its slate of original programming. The original System Shock plunges players into Citadel Station of the year 2072, where an unnamed hacker wakes from a coma only to be confronted by murderous robots, killer cyborgs, malicious mutants, and a malevolent AI named Shodan that seeks to control Earth. Nightdive's Stephen Kick and Larry Cooperman will serve as executive producers, and Binge's chief content officer Alan Unger will produce. The series joins Binge's original content slate ahead of its 2022 launch. Binge will also adapt Ubisoft's Driver into a live-action series and has teamed with El Rubius for his upcoming series Rubius Checkpoint. System Shock will stream exclusively on Binge, which seeks to create high-quality content for gamers. David?
Yes.
I haven't even heard of Binge until now, so that does not bode
I've
well
never heard
for
of
it.
this. Binge is an upcoming gaming entertainment streaming platform which seeks to create high-quality content for gamers. What the fuck does that mean?
It
They want to
means
make
it's
TV
G4
shows,
Lite. It's G4 2 Electric Boogaloo, and we already have a fucking
but they
G4
want to make
rebooting
like
next month.
made-for-TV shows and movies potentially. Like I don't know about this. One, it's a little funny to me. I'm sorry, Steven, I am. But it's a little funny to me that you're probably going to get a System Shock TV show before you get that remake that you want.
You know,
I
I think that remake's
feel-
actually close to release. I'm not positive on it, but I think it's closer than you might think.
All right, cool. No, I mean, I know
I
you've been
think-
waiting for it,
I
so
think.
that's why I felt bad even bringing
System
it up.
Shock 3, however, God fucking knows what happens to that studio. That that company was bought by Tencent. I think they have like investment in, and I stopped caring.
Yeah, that's fair. But that's ridiculous that System Shock, of all things, would be getting a TV show because, again, you like System Shock. But
I love System Shock.
is anybody else excited for a System Shock TV show? That seems strange. And don't get me wrong, Driver,
I can guarantee
that game
you
was,
that in the
that game was
sample
awesome
size
when I
of
was
this
a kid.
show, 50% are excited for a System Shock TV show.
All right, cool. I mean, I guess I would watch Driver, maybe, but isn't that just the transporter? Like, what are we doing here?
Here's where I get real negative on it. So Binge aside, other than the fact that it feels like I'm judging unfairly for something I haven't even heard of, but it already feels like the CW of internet streaming shit. System Shock, what I want from a System Shock TV series is what I want from a Last of Us TV series. I don't
Something that has nothing to do with the original source material. It just takes place in universe.
I don't want it to follow the fucking guy who says nothing as you're playing it. I want it to detail the fall of Citadel Station.
Yeah, because the last thing you need is to have the main character from System Shock 2 be suddenly like played by Ryan Reynolds or something, and then you have to watch that.
Yeah.
As he's just witty bantering and you know, not really meshing with the narrative, and it's not at all the property that you enjoyed.
There are System Shock. I know you haven't played System Shock 1 or 2, but have you played Bioshock?
I played Bioshock, yeah.
So Bioshock's world was full of people who are no longer alive, but you know their stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would want. System Shock and System Shock 2, similar idea.
I tried to play System Shock 2 because you told me to play it so many times, but I played it before we had any kind of remasters or remakes, and it's hard. It is hard to want to play that game.
It is. I will fully admit that. You have this amazing world of all these characters. I want to see what their lives were and how they ended. But I don't think any TV studio is going to have the balls to kill off every single character by then. Because that's how that show, that's the fall of Citadel Station must end with everyone dying.
Damn.
Because no one gets off of it.
Now all of a sudden I want a Dead Space show with the exact same premise. And it ends right before Isaac pulls up.
One of the Dead Space movies was just that. One of the Dead Space animated movies was
right? Or Dead Space and something.
One of the cartoons, the good one. Yeah. There's an okay one and there's a bad one. The okay one,
all about that. But I'm talking like if you want to do live action with actors, I'd just take that movie and pull it over.
But that Dead Space movie though deals with the Ishimura showing up to Aegis 7, shows everyone on Aegis 7, and ends with the last main character on the Ishimura dying, sending out a message as you see Isaac Clarke's ship shockwaving in, and the beginning of Dead Space starts up. That's what I want from a live-action System Shock. And I know for a goddamn fact I am not going to get it. And Soul Glove, you said it best. It would be cool to have original stories, and they'll have to be written so you care for every character at the end. But I want a show that shows not so much people living, but how well or badly they die. I want to... It sounds morbid, but I want to show about great... people.
Fucking Walking Dead's pulled off 11 seasons. Why can't we have a System Shock show?
Walking Dead fell into the trap of it's not willing. What made the Walking Dead?
They kill off a main character every other season, bro. Like it's
not
whatever.
Anymore.
It's just
the main characters that start.
That's because they're out of main characters.
There's like a small handful of main characters. Like I could think of Daryl and Carol. Daryl.
They killed all the OG characters. Maggie, I'm pretty sure, is dead, right? I have no idea. I have not watched that show, sincerely, since season 3. I just assume blindly that everybody is dead but Rick. I have no idea what's going on in that show.
Rick's off that show now. I haven't watched that show for like the past 5 or 6 years, but I know that Rick's off that show. But they had the core cast in that show now is fucking bulletproof.
Okay.
The people they kill off are people that no one cares about. I know that.
They're people now? That's funny.
So, but yeah, I just know I'm not going to get that from this. David?
Yes.
That System Shock show, that's probably not going to show up. It says 2022, but I even doubt that's going to see the light of day. However, I'm going to be waiting to see what they do to my boy and how they massacre my boy. In the meantime, though, what can I keep myself entertained with before I am hit with one of the biggest disappointments of my life?
All right, well, let's get you some video games, my friend. Not a ton of stuff this week, but we got a couple things to talk about. First up, YouTuber's Life 2, a game that's getting a sequel, is heading PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, PC, and Mac. This is a sim content creator game, right? So there's lots of these like sim life games. This is you're a YouTuber. You're trying to make and break it as a YouTuber. Become the best YouTuber in the world, actually. Collaborate with legendary celebrities. I feel like they're actually fake in the video game. I don't know. Explore the city of fame. Find out hidden stories and follow trends to create viral content. Live the life of an emerging superstar.
You and I
fortune, and fans are
so disconnected from this world. They could actually be real people. And we're looking at it and go, there's no way that person exists. That has to be fake.
Yeah, I don't need to play YouTuber's Life 2 because I'm currently playing YouTuber's Life, the life... Live version.
The
I would put the exact same amount of effort into this video game that I do into this podcast, which is to say, I wouldn't make it past
let's
the
just say
first level.
let's just say we have as much success on YouTube as 99.999% of the people out there.
Yeah, dude. Pretty good if you think about it. Although we have a way more consistent release schedule than most random people. Anyway, also out this week, Into the Pit hits Xbox One and PC. This is an action shooter roguelike. So it's a fast-paced, retro first-person shooter mixed with a roguelike, which sounds pretty cool, right? So it is 3D, so it's not full-on like the 2D super retro, but it's a retro 3D shooter. I hope that makes sense to
David,
you.
I don't need any more of these games.
Okay.
Like it's one of the I saw this trailer and I went,
Just
oh, this looks cool, and then
we
I
don't
stopped.
really need everybody else to do it.
I saw that trailer for Into the Pit and I went, this looks cool, and then I immediately went, I have said this exact same thing the past 7 new releases we've had.
Yeah, there's a lot of retro first-person shooters.
They're
fun. Don't get me wrong, but take a look at it and see if this is the one for you. If not, I'm guaranteeing you there's other ones. Also out this week, something that you've been playing for quite a long time, my friend, Inscription, which is that cool card-based Odyssey that's like a deck-building roguelike horror game. Do you have words you would like to talk about with Inscription?
I have many that I want to talk about, but once again, I can only say that what you see is not necessarily all there is to this game. And if you have played...
You might like Inscription, you, the viewer. And if you are unsure, then just tune in back to this channel on Wednesday and watch the guy to my right play it.
Yeah, I will absolutely be playing this game. I love what I have played so far. I'll be starting a fresh save. I stopped at... I don't even know if I was halfway or not. But I stopped because I did not want to keep unlocking the layers to this. This goes places. And once again, if you have played this developer's other games, specifically the Hex, you know what I mean when I say this goes places.
Yeah, it's going to have twists and turns, and it's not where you expect. Anyway, also at this week, we've got Undying. It is a open world zombie game. It's cartoony. It's isometric based. It starts with you getting infected by a zombie bite, and your days are numbered. So now you're fighting to survive, not only for yourself, but your young son. So you're actually playing as a mother trying to ensure your son's survival in a zombie-infested world by protecting him, searching for safety, and teaching him valuable skills. You know,
super interesting premise. Like, it starts off, you're fucked.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. How can you save your kid now at this point?
Very
super
cool.
Interesting premise.
War Mongrels is a real-time strategy game, isometric real-time tactics game that takes place on the Eastern Front in World War II. If it was another week, I'd assume that you would stream this because damn, do you love some World War II.
I do.
Dynamic and tactical gameplay with stealth elements, tightly packed into a dark, fascinating story. Play on your own or in online co-op. I've heard that this game is very much like a spiritual successor to Commandos from 98.
Yeah, that's the vibe I was getting from it.
Yeah, so people seem to be liking it so far. So if that is your jam, take a look. Let's see. We got Corpse Party hitting PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. This is a 2D top-down horror adventure game that is a remake, actually, of an older game. So I think it was an old 2D. What the hell was Corpse Party on? I have no idea.
Corpse Party. It's a very old franchise.
It's an old 2D horror game. People like it. It's remade. You can play it. Speaking of games that get remade, Resident Evil 4 has yet another release coming out this week on the Oculus Quest in VR. Cool. I don't think I need to pitch Resident Evil 4 to anybody. If you got an Oculus Quest, you'll probably want to play it because chances are it's going to be good. Echo Generation hits the Xboxes and PC this week. I think it's also on Game Pass, but I did not verify before this broadcast, so I apologize. It may or may not be. This is a 90s-based, turn-based RPG. It's very atmospheric. It's kind of 3D voxels. It's about a gang of kids investigating supernatural occurrences while battling monsters and mechs and all this stuff. So think of Stranger Things vibes, but with more of like a 90s, like Zombies Ate My Neighbors crossover. And the soundtrack is awesome and actually was put together by a friend of mine. So take a look, because if nothing else, I know it has a good soundtrack for a fact. Also out this week, Disciples Liberation hits the PlayStations, Xboxes, and PC. A dark fantasy RPG with kind of a hex-based tactics grid. So, liberate the land of Nevendar and uncover the endless stories hidden within this richly detailed world where every decision has a consequence and every wrong move could be deadly.
I'd
I
play
think
this
we
if I had absolutely nothing else to play, but I don't even mean make that sound like it was like a backhand comment. I didn't mean that way. It's just I have
too
so
much
much
stuff on your
shit
plate.
right now, but
Yeah,
I do want to play this.
yeah, looks super cool. We've got EverTried hitting the PlayStation, Xbox, Switch. This is a strategy roguelike game as well, but this is more. Okay, it's an isometric tactical roguelike where the player ascends a mysterious tower in the afterlife using their wit, strategy, and positioning in turn-based combat. Make clever use of attacks, movement skills, and hazards to clear floors of enemies and advance higher towards your destiny. Looking at this game, and please don't yell at me if I'm wrong, but from watching some gameplay, I feel like this is Disgaea meets Into the Breach. And that might be the Disgaea game that I need.
It's a
I'm not gonna lie.
combo I never expected to hear.
Right? But it looks really cool. We've got. I just talked about EverTried. They Always Run is coming out this week. It's a 2D platformer, side scroller. It's got parkour in it. You're a 3-armed mutant who hunts the most dangerous bounties in the gallery, catch, slice, dice, and destroy enemies in a space western. I don't know. It's got a kind of cool art style. Take a look. The collection of Saga Final Fantasy Legend hits PC this week as well. This
took all those
is
bad Game Boy Advance, we took all those bad Game Boy Classic games and put them into one collection for you to hate.
okay. 1, fuck you.
Incorrect.
2,
Fuck you, good sir.
These are the Saga games that were then called Final Fantasy Legend when they were released in the States. And yes, they are a collection of Game Boy, not even Game Boy Color, original Game Boy, RPGs. And they've got some bomb-ass music, and these games collected quite a bit of a young David's time, so you, sir, can eat a dick.
Young David was a moron.
Young David had only so many games to play on a road trip. And some of them were Final Fantasy Legend. And yes, I do like these games. The whole thing is $20, but it's 3 Game Boy games, and they are dated. And yes, they're like upscaled to 4K, but they haven't really done a whole lot.
No.
I know that there's a fast forward mode so that you're not playing at regular crawling exploration speed, but they're pretty old video games. But nothing else. Just take a listen to the soundtrack, man. These games are tight. Chiptune music. Dark Pictures House of Ashes is the new Dark Pictures game. It's on both PlayStations, all 4 Xboxes, and PC.
I love these things.
They're action adventure horror. There's been a whole bunch of Dark Pictures. There's Man of Medan. There's what's the other one?
There's Man of Medan. There's Little Hope. This is the same team that did oh my god, Until Dawn. If you played any Dream game, you have an idea of what you're getting in here.
They're all kind of linked, right?
So the Dark Pictures games are tied together by this Rod Serling-esque narrator.
Yeah, there's like a narrator that kind of brings the games together, but other than that, so far the games don't actually link together. But everyone's kind of curious on where they're going with this. So this game is special forces hunting for weapons of mass destruction unearth something far deadlier, a buried Sumerian temple containing a nest of unearthly creatures. To survive the night below, they must forge a brotherhood with the enemies from the world above. And if you've played any Dark Pictures games, you can probably technically beat it in a sitting. It might be a long sitting, but these games are pretty cool. They're very atmospheric. It's probably not too actiony or anything like that. It's more kind of story driven and running from shit. Than
you can casually beat it in probably about 4 hours or so.
Right.
Yeah.
And last but not least, and for no other reason than it's the last thing we wrote down, My Friend Peppa Pig is a video game you could play with probably a young sibling or your kids. PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, PC. Have you seen Peppa Pig? If you have no idea who that is, be happy.
Nah, she's British, and I immediately lose all respect for her.
You do not... Just shut up, Steven. You do not need this video game if you've never heard of Peppa Pig, and be happy for that. However, if you immediately heard that name and went, then yeah, your kids might want you to get the Peppa Pig video game.
David, I came across a disturbing bit of information as we were going through this. You mentioned War Mongrels earlier.
Yes.
And I looked at the trailer for it just to confirm, because I was like, I think this is the Commando game, and I looked at the trailer and went, yes. And I saw who made it. And I was like, Why do I know that name?
Who is it?
Do you remember a video game that came out about 7 or 8 years ago called Hatred?
Hatred. Did that game suck?
Yes. Hatred got some controversy and stirred up some shit among the games journalist literati, because it was the whole like, I hate everyone and everyone wants to die. I'm going to kill all these motherfuckers. And it's like
Oh,
this.
that was like the fucking like Postal 2 / Manhunt / whatever
Yeah.
game.
It was about like just murdering as many people as you could.
Yep. Okay, I remember that.
It started some controversy. I thought this was like a one
What are
and
these
done
same
developer.
guys making War Mongrels?
Yeah, it's the same people.
That's fucking hilarious.
I didn't even know that. Like, I'm actually more interested in Warmongers now, not because Hatred was a good game, but because I'm curious to see what that developer has turned into. Because it was.
No one knows.
I just thought they would have disappeared and no one would have heard from them. But apparently they made a new game. So there you go. Anyways, that does it for new releases, which means that also does it for the show as well. This has been GamePoints episode 283, and thank you all for showing up. Stuffy Twitchy, Morathon, Soul Glove, and to everyone else hanging out in chat, we do appreciate you dropping by. And you too can join us live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at twitch.tv/GamePoints. But if you can't, you can also watch old episodes of the show over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC, or they are posted up in our Discord channel, link provided down below if you want to be part of the community. You can follow the show on Twitter at GamePointsPC, myself at CapitalistPig21, and David there at PalShife_Satori. Once again, we'll be back next week, and then tune in tomorrow for some Inscription as we start that up. But until then, y'all take care. We'll be seeing you.